Hello, it's me, Rose, along with Olga, my glioblastoma multiforme tumor. Now, it's been so long, I don't even remember how long since my last updated video, but at this point in time, it's been, goodness, 2.5 years since my diagnosis with glioblastoma, with my form of grade 4 brain cancer. And it just, COVID happened, and it's like, well, what am I going to do? Like, I already have restrictions. I was a big volunteer at my own cancer center. I also went every week to the free yoga class at Siteman Cancer Center. So it was just there for patients and their family members if they wanted to be there too. And then COVID happened. And so I think it was September, like the middle of September, I actually did have a headache. Well, it was a pretty complex migraine, and ironically it followed being exposed to direct sunlight. It was so bright that a migraine started. After that migraine, like as soon as it started, I knew it was coming. I took an Excedrin, and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to take a Maxalt too, just to be safe. So taking the Maxalt, within about 20 minutes it went away. The only downside is that a complex partial seizure started, and I appeared as though I was having a stroke. My speech became pretty bad, but it was just like a seizure. Like I couldn't get the words out of my mouth. And I lost sensation on my right side. Since Olga's over here on the left, my right side, it felt as though my whole hand was tingling. So I actually ended up going to the ER by ambulance. But after lots of testing and receiving lots and lots of IV fluids, I felt 10 times better. The only thing that they actually saw in the ER, because like by the time I actually arrived, my speech had returned to normal, and the only thing was like my pupils of my eyes, right? One side was dilated over the other, so they were uneven, and that's the only way that showed that I actually did have that bad migraine. That was a lot of fun. I think I've also been more socially distant with COVID going on, just like keeping my own life, so I'm not tempted to like reach out to others. Or a lot of my friends are, they graduated from medical school and are residents, and so they're even busier right now than they would be regardless of COVID. So I think it's great, especially because so many of them have already gotten the vaccines, both injections. I think they're like 4 weeks apart, I don't remember, but they've had no side effects. And so I'm like, oh, well, I mean, I have cancer, so that's probably a good idea for me. Kind of like playing it by ear though, because I don't really do much. Like, I don't really go out of the way unless it's to one of my checkup appointments. I am going to be seeing, so I saw my neurologist in like mid-January, and I did have a family member with me. Now, if I had gone alone, I don't think anything would have changed, but she's caught on more things. My short-term memory is getting worse. I'll be in the middle of doing something, and I forget what I'm doing. And so for my next checkup, I'm getting transferred to an epilepsy specialist, because the biggest medication I still am on is anti-seizure medications, and I'm on a relatively high dose of Keppra. And so like it's not so much Olga and her location causing symptoms right now as much as kind of like the sedation of anti-seizure medication. In the meantime though, so like I said, I was going to yoga classes at my cancer center. They're free for patients, and like I said, they're family members. So those have been canceled because of social distancing. However, the main teacher that we had in these yoga classes actually he's the founder of West East Yoga, located here in St. Louis, And so I was like, well, you're just stuck with me because yoga is helping me, as I've had a lot of balance issues. I also feel weaker still than I was before all of this happened. You know, it's been like 2.5, almost 3 years. It's still like a slow recovery process. But since I couldn't go to his classes as a cancer patient, I joined the program, and on Valentine's Day we have our graduation in the YTT 200 program. So that's like the first certificate level as a yoga teacher. And from here on out, I'm going to be sharing videos. I'll probably be going live once or twice a week, either here or on Facebook, or maybe both at the same time. And, you know, mostly to help other cancer patients, especially if those who happen to have some type of neuromuscular form of cancer, or even if you're recovering from a stroke or something else. Like, my balance has improved so much with all the practice. And so I still can't do certain forms or certain positions. Like, I don't do a headstand. I do not put pressure on my head if I can avoid it. I do have one of those special like benches that like you're on your shoulders instead of your head. It's okay for me to put my head down. I don't have so much swelling anymore over here, but I don't want pressure on there. But yeah, I'm almost done with 200 hours, and like I said, it's been so helpful, and just taking time to really like kind of refine what physical activity I can do. Like, some of them you have to have more arm strength, and it's amazing because like I always thought yoga was just like a stretching class, but then sometimes it's like, I guess like I never took Tai Chi either, and it's like this slow movements. Like when I did Taekwondo and karate, like it would be like and you like we love demos doing demonstrations, but like getting that like shock of that like strength of your hand, or like when you're palming in, or versus like your kick, like each time you're bringing that momentum in each direction. And so for me, it's like, especially as you go like to higher levels, like you're doing something like really holding that pace. Like, you're gonna be in that position balancing for X amount of time. Like, if you're not there yet where you can hold it for so many deep breaths, that's okay too. Like, you build up. And so I was doing a lot better, so I had my Keppra increased back when I was in the ER in the middle of September, and it's just, I've been on this high dose for so long. I was hoping to go up to the next level of yoga certification. The only problem is that my memory is really not steady right now. It's not that I'm like not healthy or I'm not secure, but I forget things so much faster. And unfortunately, like being transferred to an epilepsy specialist, because that's the kind of medication I'm on, they couldn't take me in as a new patient until April. And so with that, I mean, the next yoga level is like 300 hours, and I have no idea if I'll have side effects, if I'll go through a trial and error of different medications. I ironically get the most random forms of side effects of different medicines, which is how I ended up just on this higher Keppra, just increasing that, because like I tried a few different things. One, oh my gosh, I was on one and my eyes went really dry, and it's not a common side effect, but if I continued on that and increased the medication dose like I was supposed to, I could have gone blind. Like, my eyes are already so light sensitive. I can't imagine not being able to see things, because I mean, my siblings have so many daughters and sons, like so many nieces and nephews. I love spending time with them. it's mostly what I do when I'm being social. I'm really with little kids hanging out. And so I'll actually be having some yoga videos with, one or the other of the kids. And it's just so funny because it's like, I cannot imagine being unable to see clearly what they're doing. Because they're just like, it's so funny because, like, at times it's like, oh, I have such a life of an old lady, which is so true because I also have gotten an embroidery machine and a serger, not just my sewing machine. And so I've been doing that more than knitting lately. But I have like moments where it's just like my comprehension of what's going on, and like all I want to do is just like, I don't know, it's just like being a little kid or like grown up. Some days I just want to do a puzzle or some other project. So, it's ironic too because I also have been trying to get on Facebook more. I started a page, it's called Jeannie Rose Embroidery. Two of my sisters actually have an online store called Jeannie Rose, and so I got the embroidery machine mostly because it came with tons of Disney stuff. I actually have on a big Disneyland shirt, and I love I just love this machine. It's amazing. It's like you don't even know how awesome these are until you get it. And actually I'm using it to make my own like yoga outfit, like yoga leggings and tank top and shirt, because for our graduation we're supposed to wear all white. If you think of like a sun salutation where you're in like warrior 1, arms up, and you can also go to warrior 2, in other positions, but it's just like you're really looking at the sun. And to me it's like when you look at the sun you see just like the brightest star you'll ever see, and so you reflect that light, that direction, rather than just like absorbing it like black. So I'm like using my machine to change things up, to kind of bring everything together. So it's just like, I also forget what I was talking about slightly before I started talking about that. This is how things have been going. I mean, I've always been really talkative, but now it's like, what was I focused on before? And so, I mean, there's no editing to this video, and so you can see like how this really is kind of like a constant thing happening at least once a day, if not more, and it's probably just not noticed happening more because I try and find one thing that I'm doing that day. And so later today I will have a yoga class with my niece Lily. She's 7, so it's going to be very beginner. Some of it will also include just like slight, like nice inhale, exhale, deep breathing to get our focus on finding our energy and strength to get going. I think having those moments each day has been helping me. The downside is I actually started this program back in September, right before I had that bad migraine and seizure, to now, and I was doing so good learning the terminology in Sanskrit, but now it's like I do have a final exam. It is like open questions that you like answer in your own terms, and so I'm like, well, that's good because I could remember some of the words before, but now it's like hit or miss if I'm saying the right word. And so I actually kind of want to I might end up being screen like a vinyl onto a yoga mat that has just like basic words. I did get an extra yoga mat from Five Below, and it says inhale, exhale, repeat. Like, that's great. That's just like a good reminder for yoga. It's like, keeping like your pace of your movements from one stretch to another. You want to keep your breaths. Like, if I'm going to be folding over, I want to exhale. If I'm rising up, I'm going to inhale. And so it's like getting the hang of it. And so I think it would be cool. I do have me and my sister both have machines that can do the vinyl to like put on that, and I think that would be a great goal. Maybe I'll put like a rose brain image where they're side by side. But I just noticed I'm almost at 15 minutes, and like I said, it's so easy for me to get distracted. But I hope that you'll join me with some yoga videos. Just, if you want to have a personal class, just let me know. Because I learned to train others in yoga predominantly to help them improve their health. I mean, for me, the biggest thing is balance. And so, I didn't get this certification to have classes I charge for. It's so that I can help with Siteman and potentially have Zoom classes with other cancer patients or like FaceTime with other patients and really focus on what's gotten to them through chemotherapy and radiation. Because, in the class I went to, so I didn't go to the Siteman yoga training at like the classes at all until I'd already finished treatment, even saw an occupational therapist, figured out if I could go back to med school, tried to go back to med school might have made it 3 weeks, came back home, and I started volunteering again at Siteman in the Central West End at Big Barns. And then I go to South Siteman because it's closer to home for the yoga classes. And so it's like, oh, well, COVID has made it that we can't have classes together. And so I'm like, well, I bet I can figure out how to do it online. And actually, members of the class were already, like, they were actively on radiation and actively on chemotherapy. And so, like, having gone through that, like, I really know the different positions and the different modifications to the asanas, the different positions and forms of movement that help us. So that's kind of one of my big goals right now, is just helping others get through everything so that they find, each day you're one step closer to the future. And again, I am so sorry for this long video. Seriously, if you're this far and still, like, watch it on 2 times, like 2x timing. But I hope you had a great day. If you've been praying for my help, I ask that you continue to do so. And, I hope that everything goes really well when I see the epilepsy specialist. But in the meantime, you will be getting more videos from me. Potentially, it could just be a few minutes with a particular, like the sun salutation, moon salutation. It's very specific movements and from one flow to another, or like full segments that fill a class. Tonight we'll be doing a 45-minute beginner level, and that'll be right around, I would say, 6:30 Central Standard Time, and I hope to see you there. Otherwise, please keep me in your positive thoughts and prayers, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!